Hello, everybody. It's me, Shannon LaBruyere. I am live and loving it tonight. Welcome to Sunday Night Live, where we explore the principles that allow us to thrive in change. The change that we wanted, that we planned for years and finally achieved, the changes that we didn't plan for that came out of nowhere and knocked us off our feet and everything in between. The things that we talk about here on Sunday Night Live equip us to thrive in the midst of all of it. I want to welcome you if you have never been to Sunday Night Live. Make sure you give StreamYard permission to use your, hold on, I got to find the comments here. Here we go. Okay. So make sure you let StreamYard have permission to use your Facebook profile and your picture. And then you can comment, let us know where you are from. Feel free to engage in the conversation. That's what makes this such a fun half hour, is that we talk to each other and we learn from each other. It's great. Hi, Samantha. I'm glad you're here. So tonight we are going to explore the Thrive Principle, hashtag trust the process. Hi, Pastor Jerry Holland. Trust the process. We often go back to trust the process here on Sunday Night Live because so much about principles involve process, or so much about principles involves process. The grammar police needs to help me out here. Hey, Mary, I'm glad you're here. So while everybody's jumping on, let's just make a note. It is hashtag trust the process. If what you hear tonight on Sunday Night Live is valuable to you, please share it. Send it out there in your social media, tag a friend, let them know that it's here. Use hashtag trust the process if you want, although there are several hashtag trust the process videos out there on Sunday Night Live. They're all good, so it doesn't matter which one turns up for them. But do share, because what we talk about here, if it helps us, it'll help others. So I encourage you to please share. All right, now we're going to shout out to, a drum roll please. It is a shout out to Thumb Roast Coffee. Yay! Thumb Roast Coffee is the sponsor of Sunday Night Live, and Thumb Roast Coffee has been designated by the Michigan Small Business Association as the best small business in the region. So we applaud Thumb Roast Coffee and the founder and owner, Missy Bobo, and so much appreciate Thumb Roast's support of what we do here on Sunday Night Live, helping people to grow. That's something that Missy and her team are passionate about at Thumb Roast Coffee, and it shows. It's showing up in their business. And how are the principles showing up in your life and in your business? Improvement, huh? Yeah. If we could give out some awards, maybe I'd give one to you, Mary, for just most exciting growth. Anyway, I'm so grateful for for Thumb Roast Coffee sponsoring Sunday Night Live. And here's what's cool. If you're in Michigan, it's easy peasy if you want to drive to the Thumb to pick up a few bags of Thumb Roast Coffee. But if you aren't nearby, how could you get your hands on this amazing coffee? All you have to do is go to thumbroastcoffee.com and select whichever roast you want. Plop them in your shopping cart there online. And when you check out, don't forget to use a coupon. For all you coupon shoppers, your coupon code is THRIVE, THRIVE. When you use that, you will get 15% off. It is a wonderful, wonderful coffee. You will not be sorry. And even more exciting is the fact that that is a business that's thriving, that's growing right here, and it's local. And I'm just really proud of everything they're doing. So go to the website, buy some coffee, use the coupon, and support the best small business in the region, Thumb Roast Coffee. All right, let's see, back to our comments. Welcome, everybody. We are going to explore the hold on, I'm going to have to say this slowly. Growth gap traps. This is something that my mentor and friend John Maxwell writes about in his book, The 15 invaluable laws of growth. He says, live them and reach your potential. And he talks specifically about some traps that we fall into when we are growing. And I wanted to share them with you because we've spent the last few weeks talking about growth. And we can be on a growth journey and just trucking along, sipping our thumb roast coffee, enjoying the scenery. And then all of a sudden, we hit a pothole, our journey gets derailed. And here are some of the ways that happens. We're going to talk about 8 of the ways. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on each one, but it is definitely worth jotting them down so that you get them in your brain so that when you look up the road on your growth journey and you see a hiccup, you'll know what to expect. These are not gaps that will derail you if you're aware that they're possible and you're on the lookout for them. Just like most road hazards, right? We want to make sure that we're aware of what's coming down the pike. All right, so with that, let's talk about what John Maxwell calls the growth gap traps. The first one is this: I assume that I will automatically grow. I assume that I will automatically grow. If you assume that just by being present on the earth, you are going to grow, you've got a very sad surprise coming because it turns out that's not how it works. There's no such thing as just coasting through life and coasting uphill. All growth is intentional. All growth requires effort. You don't automatically grow. How many of you know somebody who repeats the same mistakes over and over and over? And you say, will they ever learn? And the answer is no, not unless they intentionally do something different. So we don't improve by just simply living. We have to be intentional about it. So that's the first and probably the most dangerous growth gap trap, is assuming I'll grow automatically. When I first began my career in a government agency, I felt like I probably needed to grow. And so I bought a book and I started reading it and I got 3 chapters in and I thought to myself, this sounds too much like work. This sounds hard. I don't have time for this. I'll just grow naturally. And I fell into some really, really snarly traps because I did not intentionally grow. And in fact, I had to suffer a big setback before I realized, oh, I'm not just accidentally getting better. I'm going to have to intentionally do something about it. And thank God I did. And this is your invitation. Don't fall into that trap that says, I'm automatically growing just by being here on the earth. No, you're not. All right. Growth gap trap number 2, the knowledge gap. I don't know how to grow. All right, you guys. This is the real truth right here coming at you. Mic drop, truth bomb, whatever you want to call it. Guess what? You do know how to grow. You're doing it. You're here. That is important. You know how to grow. And so if you allow yourself to get caught up in, I don't know what class to take, I don't know what book to read, I don't know what to do, I'm here to tell you, you do know what to do. Tune in to something like Sunday Night Live. Do a quick Google search for the inspirational book about growth or communication or leadership or personal development. There are so many ways. We'll talk about the next growth trap. Well, we'll talk about another growth trap in just a couple minutes. And it's the one about, yeah, but what if it's not the right one? Trust me, start somewhere. Just start. Just start. You might not know how to grow. Just start. One of the fastest ways to grow is take one thing that you've learned, one thing, and apply it. Take one thing that you've learned and apply it and watch what happens. We can get so caught up in, there are 5,000 things I need to do to improve. All true. All true. I've got that many. 5,001. I have one more than all of you. I've got a lot of ways I could improve. But here's the thing, just getting distracted by having so many options is not going to actually create growth. Pick one thing, try it, see what happens. Mary says this, that was something that I wished I'd learned earlier. She's talking about that you have to be intentional to grow. She says it does take hard work. It does. But Mary, I know you'll agree with me on this. It's also really hard to not grow, right? It's always hard. So pick your hard. Pick the kind of hard that allows you to grow and get better and have bigger impact. Or you can pick never learning from your mistakes and always being stuck, right? Growth is an option. Okay, so number 3 is this. John Maxwell calls it the timing gap. It's not the right time to begin. Do it now, do it now, do it now. I love this story when I went to be certified on the Maxwell Leadership Certified team as a speaker, a trainer, and a coach of Maxwell principles. John told this story of how he was tired of procrastinating. He felt like he procrastinated too much. And so he started doing this discipline every day, 50 times in the morning and 50 times at night. He would look at himself in the mirror and say, do it now, 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 and say it 50 times morning and night. He said it helped. Folks, there's this thing called the law of diminishing intent, and it says this: the longer you wait to do something you should do now, the greater the odds that you will never actually do it. Ever found yourself in that boat? The longer it goes on, the more you drag your feet, the less and less likely it becomes that you're actually going to do the thing. This is what happens to me when it comes time to work out. If I do not jump up and do it now, at the time I said I was going to do it, every 5 minutes that goes by, it becomes harder and harder for me to work up the intention and get motivated to go. Do it now, do it now, do it now. Now is the time to begin. And this is a great place to start. I'm so glad you're here with us. So I can see that my internet is acting weird. And so if you guys are having trouble, drop it in the comments or something, and I'll see if there's something I can adjust. But I don't know what my solution is, but I hope that everything's still going cool and you can still see me. I hope. Fingers crossed. All right. Number 4 is this: the mistake gap. I'm afraid of making mistakes. Anybody else ever fall into that trap and then get stuck because you can't go anywhere? If you're too afraid to try something new, you're never going to get that new result. And you stay put, and you begin to lose ground. I'm afraid of making mistakes is a trap. And here's one thing I want you to know about making mistakes. Making mistakes is powerful because it's how we learn. It's how we learn. And if we are afraid of making mistakes, we will never be able to master anything, because to get good at something, you have to be bad at something. It's just how it goes. It's the human condition. To get good at something, you have to first be bad at it. Just the principle. So when we allow fear of making a mistake to prevent us from starting something new or learning a new skill or trying a new approach, what we do is we restrict ourselves, we tie ourselves up, and we are unable to grow. Don't be afraid of making mistakes. If you are going to grow, you are going to do things that you've never done before. You are going to do things that are uncomfortable, and you will make mistakes. It's okay. And you can learn from them. Once you give yourself permission to make a mistake, to not execute perfectly the first time you do something, then you are going to find so much value in the lessons you learn from the mistakes you do make. The key is to learn from them and avoid doing them again. All right. Number 5, I referred to this earlier, the perfection gap. I have to find the best way before I start. Folks, this is where I get trapped the most, trying to find the best way to do something. I want the best way. I don't want to waste my time on a way that's not the best. I promise you, I have learned this. I don't want to say the hard way, but I have learned this over time. You can trust me on this. You will not find the best way until you start with a way. Until you start with a way. You have to start with at least one. Start somewhere. And once you start, all of a sudden, clarity starts to happen. It's like driving down a dark road at night. You know your destination, but you can't see very far in front of you. But if you keep going just a little at a time, you'll see enough to keep moving, and you will make progress. When we start something that we've never done before, and that's what growth is. Growth is change, right? All growth is change. So we have to get good at changing if we're going to be growth-minded people. And so when we are so fixated on knowing the best way to start, what we do is we give ourselves an excuse for not doing anything. We are actually feeding fear. I'm afraid it won't be the best way. Well, if it's not the best way, you can change. It's not like you get a tattoo. You can change. You can change directions. You can change tactics. You can try something. It's so funny how reluctant our lizard brain is, that part of us that's just intent on surviving and keeping us safe, how to the lengths that it will go to prevent us from beginning on a path that is uncertain. Lots of mental tricks happening. Fear that pops up out of nowhere, and we'll talk about that in a minute. This idea that we have to start and be perfect, choose the best way, make no mistakes. That's just smoke and mirrors, trying to distract you from growing, becoming better, doing something new. The part of you that wants to stay safe and secure wants to keep you all tied up in trying to decide where to start. Start something now. Don't worry about if it's the best way. You'll find out pretty quick how you could improve it, or maybe it's ideal, but you won't know till you try. All right, number 6, the inspiration gap. This is a trap, you guys. Be on the lookout. Here it is. I don't feel like doing it. I don't feel like it. So sometimes you just have to start doing the thing to get the energy to do the thing. I loved this idea. Motivation is like love and happiness. It's a byproduct. I'm going to say that again. Motivation is like love and happiness. It's a byproduct. Motivation happens when you're actively engaged in doing something and it just sneaks up on you out of nowhere and you're like, oh, this is exciting. And you get energy to go on. Motivation is a byproduct of taking action in an area that you've decided aligns with your values. It's something you want. As you do it, you get more motivation to do it. You are more likely, this psychologists say, you are more likely to act yourself into feeling than you are to feel yourself into acting. In other words, don't wait to feel like it before you take action. Take the action and then you will start to feel like it. All right, number 7 is this, the comparison gap. Others are better than I am. Ugh. It doesn't matter what area of my life I'm looking at. Somebody else is better at doing what I'm doing in that arena. You too? It's a fact. It's actually a good fact because we can learn from the people who are doing those things that we're trying to get good at. But I want you to know this really important thing. You are able to reach, to impact, to influence the people around you where sometimes there is nobody else who can, even if you are doing it imperfectly. Even if there is somebody who's way better at doing it than you. Maybe they're not going to drive all the way to Florida to get that bakery's cupcakes. Your cupcakes are second best. It's okay. Sometimes people prefer what you do because of who you are. Just because somebody does something better than you does not mean that what you do isn't worthwhile. That's important, really important to note. Just because you're not the best doesn't mean you're not the best person for now, for here, with this. If we all could just embrace this idea of doing what I can with what I have right now here without comparing ourselves to somebody else who maybe does it better, we would change the world. The impact would be incalculable. Comparison is the thief of joy. Wasn't the best handwriting ever. Her spelling was not accurate. But there was no more spectacular gift for me than that card. You are unique. You bring honor to the situations that you're part of. That matters. All right. And number 8, our final growth gap trap is this, the expectation gap. I thought it'd be easier than this. Let me just tell you, at the start of every journey, expect that it's going to be harder than you expected. Expect that it will be harder than you expected. That expectation gap will trip you up if you're in the middle and you reach a challenge and you're struggling. If you are not aware that that's coming, it's so easy to look at that and think, guess it just wasn't meant to be. Guess I just wasn't meant to be a nurse. I guess it just wasn't meant for me to be able to take a trip like that. Whatever goal you're reaching toward, whatever growth journey you're on. If you don't understand that it's going to get hard and it will be harder than you expected, then you are going to stop before you achieve the goal. Ah, Mary says, awesome teaching relating to all the points. I'm glad, Mary. I'm very glad. As I read these growth gaps, I can relate to each one of them. And I have like a life lesson for me that I learned each one of these in. Like I went, oh, yeah, that's happened to me before. That's happened to me before. I thought it would be easier than this, is one of those misguided assumptions that will absolutely derail your growth journey if you do not know it's possible, if you do not see the trap ahead. Yes, it's more difficult than you thought. Yes, and that's a good thing because when you do hard things, you get strong and you can do hard things. 100%. I love this quote from Jim Rohn, who's a noted personal development speaker and a motivational speaker, and he's excellent. Jim Rohn, Rohn. If you went and did YouTube, you'd find a bunch of stuff, and he's really good. He says this: you cannot change your destination overnight, but you can change your direction overnight. This is the good thing. We get to choose the direction of our growth. We get to decide every day when the challenges come, when the going gets tough, that we can take a little detour to get around that hiccup. We can go over, maybe we'll go under, but we will find a way around that gap that tries to stop us. No matter where that gap is coming from, your growth journey is worth it. It is worth your effort. It is worth your time. It is worth giving yourself grace, because these 8 things, like I said, that we've talked about tonight, I've experienced every one of them and continue to do so. Mary says she can relate to all the points. So there's 2 of us. You're not alone. I want you to know that your growth journey is worth it. Those are the 8 growth gap traps. I have to say that so slowly. Growth gap traps that John Maxwell says will derail your growth journey. And I'm confident that now that you're aware, they won't deter you for long. If you run into a snag, you're going to know what you're up against. And I ask you, who do you have in your circle that will encourage you through the gap trap? Who do you know that's going to help you link arms with you and say, come on, we can do this together. Don't worry, we're just going to try. Don't worry, don't give up. It's going to be okay. Who do you have in your circle that is rooting for you? I want you to know I am rooting for you. And if you ever need my help, if you ever need a cheerleader, somebody to encourage you, reach out, because I am here to help. I want every one of you to know that your growth journey matters, because you matter. You matter. And the hiccups that we talked about tonight are part of the growth process. You can trust the process. Just as surely as your growth is going to bring good things into your life, your growth is also going to uncover some of these traps, but now you know what to look for so you won't get stuck. With that, I love you all. I'm thankful, grateful that you tuned in tonight. I encourage you to share this with somebody, put it on your timeline. Make sure that you're not just taking in these good principles, but that you're sharing them with people in your workplace, in your family. Share what you've learned, share how you're growing, invite people to go on that journey with you, and we're all going to experience the benefits of that growth. Mwah. Take care. I love you all. Bye.